Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the channel. uh yeah, so AMC's chart, we're going to do an update here on that trend line analysis that we did. Maybe draw a few other trend lines and just see where we're at with it. If there's anything else that's interesting in the chart. But if you watched the video yesterday, you remember we talked about this potential trend. Well, I think it's more than a potential trend. It's more like a mean value. It's almost like a fair value line that you could use for AMC. And it's kind of ironic too because Trace Trades recently came out and said that AMC is trading at or around its fair value. I didn't actually watch the interview, so forgive me for that. But I remember seeing a quote or like a YouTube title or something that was referring to that. So it's actually pretty funny because you're right here. This is the sort of trend line that I was talking about. And we said with Bitcoin, if you draw a similar, sorry, I got a little bit of noise going on my Bitcoin chart. I've been looking at it recently. But we said on Bitcoin, let me zoom out to like a bigger time frame. Historically, if Bitcoin, say here, where you have like these bear markets, right, where the price is trading below this center line right here, this could be seen as like, right, you have like bull market, bear market, bull market, bull market, right? And then you have bear markets underneath the line. This middle would be kind of the fair value, right? Because historically, whenever the price goes above, it eventually wants to come back down and go below. You could say a similar thing for AMC. Now, is that saying that, oh, because it went above, right? Because it went above now, it has to go below? Not necessarily. Bitcoin has spent significant amounts of time above, right? So, and I'm not saying that AMC is Bitcoin or vice versa, but having a fair value line does not mean that when you come down and test it, you automatically get rejected down. You can see here that Bitcoin, before its rally in 2017, went above it, came back down. This is a 2-week chart, by the way. So this took from May until July. So it took basically 2 months for it to come back down, retest the fair value line, even go below it, and then eventually shoot up and go all the way to $20,000 like it did before. In the double bubble in 2013, double bubble, you can see here that it actually broke above it initially whenever it had its rally up to like $250. It broke down below it. And I mean, this was significantly a significant retracement. Now, obviously, Bitcoin was very young back in these days. I don't remember what the valuation would have been, but it went down as much as 80% from its highs. Talk about volatility. And then eventually in 2013, still in the same year, had another rally above the fair value line. So it's just something to pay attention to, and maybe this line could be drawn more perfectly or something, but I think it's a pretty good indication of kind of where the median price is for AMC going forward. And the trend based on, right, this breaking down below in 2020, the new trend that AMC is going to continue to go off of going into the future, right? And so, I mean, obviously, trends can change, right? So, like, I'm not saying that, like, it's just going to, like, forever, endeavor until the year 3000 continue along this trend, right? But I'm just saying that, like, for the time being, it would appear that this would be the case, at least for now. And this could change as well. I mean, you could have a situation where, let's say, for example, AMC was to rally, and then this actually becomes more of the short-term fair value line, right? Or if AMC was to dump from here. I know that, like, none of you guys that are watching this channel want to hear me say that, but if that was to happen, you'd probably say, I don't know. I don't know how you would do that. Yeah, because that's why I believe in AMC so much. It's just because it's just hard to draw like a bear trend at this point if you look at the chart from like a longer term basis. It's it looks like this was a third wave and it needs a fifth wave. So it's just awkward to try and draw a new bear trend. But I suppose what you would do is you would say, okay, now forever AMC, well, not forever, but like for the near term, this is the new bear trend, and AMC is actually going to trend below this line in the short term before eventually breaking up and then breaking back down. Like that would be your fair market bear trend. I just think it's more likely that you continue along this uptrend because you've had so much selling going into this, right? Like this would have been the previous trend. You would have drawn it like this. See how that works? So you were undervalued and then overvalued and then undervalued and then overvalued and then undervalued relative to the recent trading range. Does that make sense? And obviously this could be probably drawn better or something, but that's just the basic premise. I just don't think that in its current stage in its life cycle that it's quite as easy to make the case for. I suppose you could draw it like this. Yeah, that would be the continuation. So this would be how you would draw a short-term bear trend, fair market value. So you see it was undervalued here, overvalued, and then now you're retesting that fair value on this side too. I mean, that seems pretty fair. So yeah, I think that this is actually pretty interesting. I mean, you could draw it like this and say that it was overvalued, undervalued, overvalued. No, you would want to say that the run up was definitely short term. It'd be like this probably. Yeah, so you're retesting that value range probably on both sides right now. So yeah, that's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this reaction point plays out. It's definitely like a key moment for AMC, right? But I do favor the bull case. I just don't think that you've seen the explosive move up that you're going to require to finish out this Elliott wave sequence. And that's not to say that that's owed, right? You don't have to have that. That's just where my conviction lies, what I think is most likely for the stock. And as always, I could be completely wrong about that. So it's not financial advice. Make sure you're doing your own due diligence and making your own decisions. But I just thought it'd be interesting to update this trend line and show. Also, I did want to mention we do have the possibility here for, and this is a rare occurrence, Alfred Giancolado has talked about this, but on the 3-day chart, if tomorrow we're able to move up, you would have your first green 3-day candle since December 15th, the December 15th 3-day candle. And I feel like that could be a good opportunity to establish this as your double bottom. Basically confirm it as your double bottom. And I'm going to have more videos that I'm going to put out. I'm going to update the Wyckoff thing. Again, just to reiterate the point and where I stand on the Wyckoff thing, I just thought that it would be interesting to update this, look at it from a different angle. And it was pretty cool because we talked about like the longer term, like the previous bear trend kind of fair value that AMC had from its IPO from basically 2015 on down to 2020. So yeah, that was good. Also, if you stuck around to the end of the video, I literally just launched a Patreon. It is very bare bones. And I'm not like pushing it hard or anything. There is no content on it. So just let that be known. But I did actually finally set it up. I know a ton of people have been asking for it. And on that Patreon, I'm kind of trying to figure out how I want to do it because I do want to eventually release all the content publicly for free. But I was thinking about doing my longer term analysis on SPX and Bitcoin there first, and then maybe starting another channel where I do more general analysis and I'm not so focused on AMC. So I'm thinking with the Patreon, it would be a way for people to support me directly, and then and for me to spend time going through these charts and finding more history. Like I want to do the entire history of the S&P 500, break it down by news, cover it in like a Wyckofian standpoint and how that all works. But obviously that's very time consuming. So I would have to be able to like justify it, because if not, my my fiance would probably chop my head off. But anyway, yeah, do Bitcoin, do all these different charts, right? Like I would do, depending on how much support there is, like I would do like maybe the entire news history of like every stock. Like imagine we did a news history of Netflix and looked at it from a Wyckoff perspective or something like that. So I thought it would be interesting. It's just an idea, and if it goes nowhere, then it goes nowhere. But I'm just tossing it around. If you have any ideas when it comes to that, other than me being a shill or something, please feel free to share them in the comments. I guess if you think that I'm a shill for that, you can share them in the comments as well. But I like to think that our community is one that, like specifically the people who support me, is a community that is curious, wants to learn more, and wants to see things from different perspectives, you know? So I think that would be something cool. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like. Comment your thoughts on this trend line. If you have a better trend line, let me know. Let me know what you think about the fair value kind of idea behind the trend line. It's not something that you'll see all the time. Like you're not going to see a lot of analysts bring it up. But I think it's very interesting to view markets in this way. Just see, you know, the short term to midterm to long term, like how does the market perceive a certain asset? And look, again, these fair value lines, they can go for a long time. Bitcoin has essentially been on a rising fair value trend since its inception, right? Since it was created all the way back in, well, this chart goes back to 2011, but probably since 2009, because what's the lowest low on this chart? $2. And obviously Bitcoin is traded for pennies before. I'd imagine that this chart before this would look maybe something like this. Maybe, I don't know. Hard to tell, but yeah, that's just my imagination working. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'm going to be posting other videos, so make sure you are subscribed with post notifications on so you don't miss those as well. All right, later.